Today's teaching is entitled Time. It's on page 21 of the Daily Inspirations. A great turning point on earth is at hand. Open your eyes. See what's happening. See the world's actual state. Only those who can see the dawn of the new era have clear vision, true eyes to perceive the truth. God's great divine light, long awaited by humanity, has finally appeared, the power to save the world. We stand today at the turning point between the old order and the new, a major worldwide transitional period. Such a great change has never before been experienced by humanity. It is entirely unprecedented. God, the creator of the universe, the absolute being, has been worshipped by many races under many names. It is the final plan of God to establish an ideal world where truth, virtue, and beauty are manifested in perfect balance. This can be accomplished only when all the necessary conditions are fulfilled. This is why God has waited for the right time. And now is that time. It is urgent for humanity to realize this and to spiritually transform its inner self. God uses human beings to serve as instruments in accomplishing it. Now that the world is standing on the verge of this critical change, it is most important for all of us, in order to become a resident in the new world, to be worthy of surviving the transition period. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this morning service of the Miroku Association headquarters. Time is such an important element. Meishu-sama wrote about waiting for the right time. I have had experiences that relates to the date June 15th, when we celebrate Paradise on Earth, when Meishu-sama received his revelation on the top of Mount Nokogiri in 1931. Apparently, in my case, so many things had to wait until that marking point, June 15th, was over, and then things would happen. For instance, I first came to the United States on June 23rd. I tried to travel before that. I couldn't. Conditions were nothing was happening. But after I attended the service on June 15th, things went very smooth, and 1 week later I was here. Also, I lived in San Francisco, California for 6 years, and then when came the time for me to come to New York was also June 23rd. We had our Jewelry Center here in New York, was on the 30th Street, and because of COVID regulations, we had to change our plans, so we walked out of our lease over there, and that happened after June 15th. And that made possible for us to combine both New Jersey and New York Jewelry Centers and establish our national headquarters here, presently in Long Island City, Queens. Meishu-sama also mentioned about the purchasing of the land which became the Kyoto Sacred Grounds. When he became interested in the property in the Sagano area of Kyoto, its present owner, the owner of that time, was asking too much. And although Meishu-sama felt that that was the very place God had assigned, but Meishu-sama decided no, maybe let's wait. And a year later, sure enough, the owner became desperate in need of selling that land, and then came to Meishu-sama with a way more reasonable price, and Meishu-sama then said, okay, now let's negotiate. So many things happen. We have to just wait for the right time. I would like to read this very teaching where Meishu-sama talks about that. When we study humanity, we find many failures in every part of society. If pain resulting from failure was felt exclusively by the individual involved, the matter would end without that person become resigning to the personal misfortune. It does not end there, however. A failure can make one's family destitute, even homeless, and can cause trouble for relatives, associates, and friends. Although the person probably began with good intentions, a failure cannot be passed over lightly because of the problems it creates with its far-reaching consequences. This being the case, it is necessary to probe into the cause of a failure. The underlying reason is something most people do not take into consideration. Before beginning a project, a person makes plans and prepares in every way he or she can think of for it. When it gets underway, the individual realizes it's not proceeding as planned, with unforeseen hindrances and unexpected obstacles appearing, and can't tell what to do next. Anyone who fails treads this same path. The reason is that the person neglects the timing. In all human affairs, there is nothing more absolute than the time. There is a tide in everything, even in such matters as the growing of flowers, fruits, and vegetables. Though other conditions are favorable, it is impossible to obtain good results unless the time is right. If a bulb is planted in autumn, flowers bloom through summer into fall. A time of ripening is fixed for fruit also. If picked too soon, it cannot be eaten immediately, since it is good only when it is ripe. There is a right time for sowing and transplanting in all agricultural products as well, conforming to climate and weather. Nature shows us the importance of time, for every changing phase is spiritual truth in action. If people will take nature as their model in approaching any project, they will have the best conditions for success at their command. Jorei, nature farming, and all other activities in our movement are based on the observation of nature. When its laws are followed exactly, there are no failures. The desired good results being obtained always. Therefore, whatever I may be planning, I'm never in a hurry to begin. I look at all aspects objectively and give the entire project careful consideration repeatedly. After I have confirmed that the project is right in every aspect, useful to humanity, and lasting in its benefits, I prepare myself and then wait for the right time. Most people become impatient and cannot wait for the right moment. They begin before the time is right, so discrepancies occur between the expectation and the outcome. They become still more impatient. The discrepancies grow bigger, and finally they fail. It is very vitally important to wait for the right time. Everything has a perfect moment, without exception. This must have been understood long ago, since we have some wise old proverbs, such as, all things come to those who wait, and the net of a sleeper catches fish. There used to be many people who were impatient with my way of doing things. There were others who suggested plans for me or expressed their wishes about my activities. I promised to use some of their ideas, but as I was very slow in putting them into practice, these people often became irritated or puzzled. They did not understand I was only waiting because the right time for starting had not arrived. Don't miss an opportunity and grasp a chance. Express how the right time can be recognized. When all necessary preparations have been made, circumstances arise that cause a plan to go into action inevitably. Once a project is started under such circumstances, everything works out smoothly and naturally. No force is required at all. In short, to be deliberate in preparation and prompt in action are the keys to success. As an example, suppose there is a heavy rock on the top of a hill. You wish to move it down the slope, but there is something in the way. If you try to force the rock past the obstacle, you must strain against it. If you wait with patience instead, the obstacle will become weaker and weaker from the weight of the leaning rock. It will loosen until a push with a finger will send the rock rolling down the hill without any difficulty. Ieyasu Tokugawa, a famous Japanese shogunate feudal lord, whose descendants ruled for 300 years, was famous for his patience. He would never begin any project before the time was right. This is beyond doubt the reason the government he established lasted so long. A poem was written to describe his character. If the cuckoo does not sing, I will wait until it does. Tokugawa understood the vital importance of timing. Even God waits for the right time. If you will keep this in mind, you will succeed in anything you undertake that is worthwhile. There were other two feudal lords in Japan. One called, there were many feudal lords, these were very famous ones, Nobunaga Oda, Hideyoshi Toyotomi, and this one that Meishu-sama referred in the teaching, Ieyasu Tokugawa. So they had different personalities. So Nobunaga Oda had a he was short-tempered, so he would probably say, if the cuckoo does not sing, I will kill it. And the other one, Hideyoshi Toyotomi, had this forceful personality. If the cuckoo does not sing, I will make it sing. And Ieyasu Tokugawa was the patient one. Okay, if the cuckoo does not sing, I will wait until it does. So very wise approach and in accordance with what Meishu-sama is talking about. I wish you a very blessed day, a very blessed week, a successful one. Protect yourselves and please give and receive joy in abundance. Thank you very much. With this concludes our morning service.